Greetings everyone. In today's video we're going to be discussing a document that is known as the Notice from Tenant to Landlord Withholding Rent for Failure of Landlord to Maintain Premises. So the purpose of this document is for the tenant to give this document to the landlord to let the landlord know that the tenant is going to be withholding rent, not paying rent, because of the landlord's failure to maintain the premise that's being rented, to maintain the property. So that's another way of simplifying it, but to maintain the premises of the rented asset. So the tenant gives this to the landlord for letting them know that they're withholding rent. And we'll discuss a little bit more what exactly is going on there. As a real estate licensee, you're the tenant's real estate agent. You could assist them with certain parts of this particular document. It starts off with a non-lawyer disclosure that you fill out, or the tenants can, they don't need a real estate agent. They can act upon themselves to utilize this document or something similar to it. But the purposes of this video is mainly if you're an agent and you're going to be assisting the tenant with filling this out. So before we get into filling out this document, as always, we take a brief minute to talk about our brokerage. Our company is Nizz Realty Inc. We're a 100% real estate commission brokerage, meaning we pay all of our agents 100% of their real estate commission. Our website, nizzrealty.com, generates a massive amount of seller leads, buyer leads, commercial leads, renters. You can search MLSs throughout the entire state of Florida. Most of our agents are experienced and understand the business, but we do welcome new agents. But we do have a very different type of business model on how we approach things. As you can see on our join page, there's more information about our 100% commission structure. We cover the entire state of Florida. We have agents from Tallahassee to Orlando, all the way down to Miami, all over the state. We have two plans that we offer. There's a lot of technology that's included within our packages, but we do have a plan with 0 monthly payments. That's only $99 a year, and we do offer a lot of benefits and incentives to help out with the company. So feel free to look on our website. There's a lot that we provide, but enough about our company. If you're interested in learning more, you can come to nizzrealty.com or give us a call for a free confidential consultation. There's no charge. So let's get into today's video and discuss about this particular document that you're here for. If you're a real estate agent and you're filling this out, the first thing that you do is the non-lawyer disclosure. Now you could read through this document, but as always in my videos, I'm just going to tell you how to fill it out so that you could take care of it and carry on with your business. Although it's highly recommended you read through and understand this document. If you're the real estate agent filling this out, you put your name in all of these spaces here. So let's say the real estate agent's name is John Doe. If John Doe is the real estate agent, you put your name here in all of these slots. And then down here, whoever you're giving this document to, typically for this document, you're going to be working with the tenant. You have the tenant either check mark right here where it says they can read English, if they read English and understand this document. But if they cannot read English, then they would check mark this box and fill out the rest here. I cannot read English, but this notice was read to me by whoever the name is, the person reading it to them in whatever language which I understand. So let's say, for example, the tenant only can read Spanish, and let's say John Doe could speak and explain Spanish, then John Doe would write the name here and put the language there that the individual speaks. Or if they speak and read English, they check mark right here that they can read English. The licensee signs here. This is where John Doe, whoever the agent is, will sign here, and then the tenants sign over here. If there's more than 2 tenants, you could just put the signatures somewhere else there to add them as well. But that's how you fill out the non-lawyer disclosure. It's pretty simple. The agent just puts their name there, and this is for the agent to fill out. If the agent is working with the tenant, they put their names here, check mark one of these boxes and fill it out. Agent signs here, tenants sign here. Simple enough. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the actual document itself. The main thing we're probably going to want to hear and discuss is down here with this particular paragraph section. So before we do that, let's just get down here to some of these quick parts. The landlord's name, whoever the landlord is. Let's say the landlord is Billy Bob. It could be a company name. Sometimes the landlord has the property in an LLC. If that is the case, then whoever is the owner of the property you put that information there. If it's an LLC, if it's a business, and any type of entity or an individual, multiple individuals, you put their names here, whoever owns the property. And the address, whatever the address is for notification purposes to the landlord. Let's say the landlord's located at 123 Happy Street, just as a placeholder. And of course, I know it sounds silly, but I'd say this in all my videos, put the full property address. There's actually a space for, I guess you could put this down here, but you could just leave it like this as well. But the main thing is put the full address. Make sure you have the full home number, the street, the city, state, and zip. Sometimes the landlord's out of state. Maybe they'll live in a state that's not in the state of Florida. You need to put the full address. If there's a unit number, make sure you put the unit number, whatever it may be. Don't leave that information out. I've seen many agents, they write an address without the city and state for whatever reason. It's unacceptable. Don't leave something like this and just expect it to be known. You need to write the full property address, especially when you're using this form for such an important notice. You're going to want things to be written perfectly and not just thrown together inefficiently. You put the tenant's name down here. Moving along, whoever the tenant is. Let's say the tenant is, let's just put in here a name here. Just a placeholder. Let's say this is the tenant's name, and that's who's going to be notifying the landlord. And then the date this was filled out. And it autofills with this program I'm using down here, the tenant's name, and the date whenever this notice is being put in. So let's just put just a date for when it's going to be noticed. Let's say this date here, when it's delivered to the landlord and drafted. Before we fill out this paragraph section here or talk about it, let's go down here to the tenant's address, unit number, basically the property that the tenant is renting. So let's just say it's unit 277. Let's say it's in Miami, Florida. Again, make sure it's the full property address with the unit number. If there is a unit number, you put the full property address here. And you write it perfectly like this. Don't leave any of this important information out, like the zip code, the state, the city, full property address. Then you have the tenant's phone number here. You could put, whatever the tenant's phone number is, you just put it there as a placeholder. This form was completed with the assistance of, you put the name of the individual who assisted with completing this form. I'm going to leave this blank, maybe an attorney helped fill out this form. The name, address, and telephone number of whoever assisted with completing this form. Approved for use under Rule 10, it talks about, regulating this. I'm not going to get too into it, but whoever assisted with filling out this form, you put the information there. Now, before we start talking about this form, it states here, this is to inform you that you are not maintaining my dwelling unit as required by Florida statute or material provisions in our rental agreement. If you do not complete the following repairs, non-compliance, violation, or default within 7 days, I intend to withhold future rental payments and or terminate the rental agreement. That's basically the tenant letting the landlord know that there's unacceptable things. The property is not maintained properly. There needs to be repairs done. And the tenant is letting the landlord know that they're going to be withholding the rent if they're not completed. Now, if you're a real estate agent and you're going to be trying to assist with filling out this form, I highly recommend that you may want to get the tenant's attorney involved and have the attorney assist with filling out this form. Maybe as the agent, you can assist with maybe delivering this document or being somewhat involved a little bit, but I'd recommend that you don't really assist with drafting the terms written in this paragraph or what's going on as a real estate agent. I would leave that for the tenants to fill out themselves, or for the tenant's attorney to assist them with that. Again, if you're a member of our brokerage, I recommend you contact our brokerage first. Contact me to discuss about the steps we should take. I'm not going to get too into the steps that we take as far as filling out this document, but if you're a member of some other brokerage that's not ours, I'd recommend speaking to your broker first. before you just go ahead and assist the tenant with filling out this document. As you can see, you're required to fill out this non-lawyer disclosure form. And then down here it talks about the form is completed with the assistance of, there's a lot of reading that you could do down here, but I recommend that you have the tenant draft up some of this stuff here, and or their attorney draft it. But enough of that. You proceed at your at your discretion. That's just my recommendation. How you go about this, as a real estate licensee, you and your broker should understand the laws in the state of Florida and know what you should and shouldn't be doing. But basically, this paragraph here is discussing about why the tenant is going to be withholding rent. What is the issue? Is basically what you're describing down here. Things that get described down there, maybe the air conditioner broke. It's very dangerous to not have air conditioning in the state of Florida. And the landlord is supposed to maintain the air conditioning, but they're not repairing it, and they're neglecting and not responding to the tenant. Things like that is why you would use this form. How you fill that out and how you write that into these paragraph and terms here, I'm not going to get into that, the language you should be using. Again, that's just something the tenants to take into their own hands, or have an attorney assist with drafting that. I'm just going to give examples of why you'd be preparing this document for something like, major repairs. Maybe the refrigerator broke and there's no refrigerator. It's the landlord's responsibility to maintain the fridge and the freezer. And they're just not getting around to it. It's been weeks, and it's becoming an issue. In my opinion, a refrigerator is a pretty important appliance that you're going to need to have repaired and taken care of. So things like that. Maybe there's a plumbing issue. There's a severely big problem with plumbing in one of the bathrooms. And it's flooding a little bit or something like that, and it's starting to become an issue where it's damaging the unit or the surrounding units. Typically, that's the landlord's responsibility. So that would be another reason of why you'd be preparing this document. So those are some common issues on why a tenant would want to prepare this document and withhold the rent. If you have a landlord that's just being neglectful and just not following up with things that they're supposed to follow up with and make repairs for. Again, how you fill that out and how you write this in here, in my opinion, I don't think that's really for a real estate licensee to really be drafting. I'm more here just to discuss that this document does exist. It can be used. There's a non-lawyer disclosure to use for as an agent to deliver this to the tenants to let them know about this document. But as an agent, I really wouldn't be trying to draft up the language in here. I'd leave that for the tenant or for the attorney. Maybe you probably want to just be like delivering this to the landlord if you're going to be doing that for the tenant, or maybe just helping them fill in some of the standard information here, and then the tenant can write their own paragraph here with the situations and everything. So that's my recommendation, or have an attorney get involved. But this document is pretty simple, but you want to be pretty careful when using this document. You don't want to get too involved with it, because it starts getting into a territory of where there may be a legal dispute or a problem in that nature, and that's a little bit outside of the scope of practice as a real estate licensee, as an agent. But this document does exist, and you can assist to an extent with providing this document and informing the tenant that there are certain Florida statutes, and they're entitled to certain rights, and then how they go about exercising those rights and doing things. That's at the tenant's discretion, or for them to speak to their attorney about, because that gets into legal advice, and that's not something you should be getting involved with. As real estate licensees, we're just supposed to understand and know about the law, and just point the tenants in the right direction to let them know that these statutes do exist, and that they should look into it further and exercise their rights as they deem appropriate, or their attorney deems appropriate. So I hope this video was helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.